Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Lotzar, joined by Bryn Schellinger. Happy Friday in the DC area, rainy Friday. We are here to support your job search with any questions that we can answer for you. So who would like to kick us off with a question? Elizabeth.
I have an interview Thursday and I have no idea what I'm interviewing for. I sent a letter of introduction
Okay.
and I said I'm a literacy teacher and I just finished an intensive 10-week assignment working with 31 students, blah, blah, blah. Told them about my background, said that I would love to connect with you to talk about your needs, to see how I might assist. And so I heard back in a couple of hours. Would love to talk with you. We're looking for regular content teachers. I have no idea what that is. I tried Google searching. I don't know what that is. Specialty is literacy, but I'm going in to talk with at least the administrator, if not more people. I'm not even sure, this Thursday. And I don't know what I'm interviewing for, what they're looking for.
Elizabeth, I think you should treat, Vern, tell me what you think, but I think you should just treat this like an informational interview.
Yeah.
Just truly, literally just ask them questions. So tell me, what is this content teacher that you're talking about? Explain this to me. And they'll probably end up sharing it with you anyway, opening up. And just literally treat it like an informational interview. You're learning about them. And then as they share what they need, then you can just speak into that. Say, oh, now I understand. Yes, I've done da 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 da, right? And just keep it very warm and informal. I mean, formally informal, right?
Yeah.
If you can't find any information in advance, just
there isn't any.
inquire within.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree with Shira. I mean, as you said, you Googled it. You don't know what the regular content, what is it?
Regular content teachers. So I don't know if that's like.
So, thank you for having me come in. I'm excited to learn about, whatever opportunities might be here for me. I'd love to ask you some questions so I can learn more. Regular content teacher. I'm not really sure what that means. So, look forward to learning more, and then let them respond, and you continue to ask questions and see where it goes from there.
Because you reached out to them proactively, right? There wasn't a specific job. And that's why it would happen that way. If they obviously had a job posting, you'd know. But you reached out to them. They said, oh, you happened to call us at the right time. We have a such and such. And it's basically an informational interview.
Okay.
Yeah, good luck. Maybe.
Thank you.
Maybe it'll turn into something you think could really be a great match, and it might work out really well.
And let us know.
Yeah.
Well, I have another question, actually, if I could piggyback. And that would be, so I'm sending these letters of introduction. I have a class of schools, if you will. And I'm also doing my research. If I see on their website that they're advertising jobs, would it be better to send my letter of introduction or to simply apply for the jobs, do both?
I would, if they have, the rule of thumb is if an organization has an actual job opening, apply for the job, right? Because they're gonna bounce you back to that anyway, unless you're interested in something that's not on their website, meaning a job that's not formally posted. In which case they'll probably say, hey, well, we don't have that opening right now. But generally, apply first. But it's not just about applications. For those of you who've been on our calls, for any length of time, we talk about getting an internal champion, right? And an internal champion is somebody who can help shepherd your candidacy along to the right person. In other words, these days, and this has been this way for a long time, ever since we went to the online application world, which has been a long minute. Look, employers are inundated with hundreds of applications often, right? And you're just a piece of paper. You're just a document on a screen. You're just, a bunch of keywords that's filtering through a database. You're not a real person at that point. Honestly, you're just this inanimate object, right, that they're trying to screen. And because of that, if they don't see the right keywords, if they don't see what they need to see, for whatever reason, either because they scanned the page and they don't see it, or because the applicant tracking system, the database didn't pick up the keywords, you go into cyberspace. Whereas if somebody internally is shepherding your candidacy, flagging your resume to the HR person, the recruiter, the hiring manager, all of a sudden you're a real person. I'll give you an example. This morning, this is very interesting. This is the search I just mentioned, the CEO search. So this morning I was on a prayer call with somebody, and he has a little group that he runs. His name is Robert Brandow. Some of you may know him. And I was mentioning this, just to the group. And he goes, "Oh, Shira," he goes, "I have this person that you may want to consider." Like, okay. So right after the call, I get this LinkedIn profile of this person. By the way, notice he sent me her LinkedIn profile, not her resume. I don't even think he has it. This is the power of LinkedIn. He's referring me a potential candidate based on her LinkedIn profile, not her resume. Okay. So I looked at her LinkedIn profile, and he says she has a different kind of background. So on paper, on LinkedIn, she doesn't look like she has the skills at all, frankly, for this role. I'm still going to call her because Robert said that I should. And I'm like, who knows, right? But the point is, on paper, she does not look qualified. I'm not saying she is qualified, but at least it's because he recommended her. It's going to be a prompt for me to actually reach out. All right. So I'm actually giving you all kinds of tips in this one story. Have a LinkedIn profile, right? That's fully fleshed out, right? But more importantly, get people to champion your candidacy. So if you have a particular opportunity that you're looking for, go to LinkedIn, put the name of the organization in the search bar in the upper left-hand corner, hit enter, and then hit the people button. And then it'll show you the people who currently work there. See if you can figure out the name of the hiring manager. If you can't figure out the name of the hiring manager, the CEO or the president or executive director. Can't figure that out, go for the HR person or the recruiter, any of those folks. So hiring manager, the number one executive, or HR recruiter. And if any of those people are second level connections to you, notice I did not say third level. If there's second level connections to you, that means you have at least one mutual connection. And so right under that person's picture, that's going to say one or more mutual connections, click on that. And then you would reach out to one or more. You can do multiple people. It's okay. You can have multiple people refer you into the same job. In fact, it's actually recommended that you do that because it's a squeaky wheel concept. So that means the organization is not just hearing from Susie, but Jack and Fred and everybody, right? They're like, okay, we'll meet Elizabeth. And so you would, right? So you'd reach out to that person, and I would actually send them an email. In fact, let me go ahead and just pull up LinkedIn and show you what I'm talking about. All right. I know I've just given you a lot of instructions verbally, and sometimes it's helpful to have a visual. So let's just say I do LinkedIn trainings a lot. And so I usually use the American Red Cross as my example. Don't ask me why. I think because they're large, they're local, and I can usually get a lot of mileage out of this. Okay, so let's just say, Elizabeth, you're applying to something at the Red Cross, and you type in American Red Cross, and here comes the LinkedIn page for the Red Cross, not their website, but their LinkedIn page. So you click on that, and right here it says, right, 28,000 employees. Okay, it doesn't look like it's hyperlinked, but it is. Okay, and so here we go, all these people. So now I'm going to go back up to the search bar, and let's just say you were looking for the person that you wanted to find was the let's say you're applying for a marketing job, right? And you think that the chief marketing officer is the hiring manager. So I don't know if I think they have one. Chief marketing officer here. So chief marketing and communications officer at the Red Cross. So you think that Rosemary is the hiring manager. She happens to be second level to me. So I click on her picture, on her name, and right here, okay, turns out we have 44 mutual connections, which I see right here. Okay. And so what I would do is I would look down this list, and I would pick a few of the people that I am closest to, that I think would do me a favor. And by the way, Anusha, I do see your hand. I'll pick, several of the people that I think, that I'm closest to, that I'd say, oh, Ingrid and Donna and Todd, I think will do me a favor. Now, of course, I don't know their relationship to, what's her name? Rebecca. Okay. Or sorry, Rosemary. So I don't know if they know Rosemary well enough to feel comfortable sharing my resume, but at least I can do my side, which is I feel like these people would help me. And what I would do is instead of sending them a message, which a lot of people don't check on LinkedIn, right? A lot of people don't see their LinkedIn. Now I happen to have on my iPhone a LinkedIn alert, right? If I ever get a message, but not everybody does that. Person might go months and not see their LinkedIn messages, right? So I can't rely on that. But what I would do is I'd go to email. How do I go to email? So here, Anjana, I'm pronouncing her name right. I open her up. And because she's a first level connection to me, I can click on her contact info. And there is a 99% chance her email is here. And sure enough, it is. I say 99% chance because 1% of the time, there are people who are so private that they don't even allow their first level contacts to see their email address. But she allowed me to. So I would pick up her email, right? And I'd send her a note and say, hi, Jana, I recently applied for a director of marketing at the American Red Cross. I noticed that you're connected to Rosemary so-and-so. Here's my my resume, my cover letter. Would you consider forwarding it to Rosemary for extra consideration? Okay. Now, if Anjana did not know me, she did not know my work, but we were just colleagues, just LinkedIn friends. I can't say, would you recommend me? But I can say, would you consider forwarding my information for extra consideration? That's a very simple way to do it. It's the most authentic way to do it because it doesn't force her to recommend me for something she doesn't know that I'm qualified for, but simply for extra consideration because of the volume of resumes that they're likely getting. And that can help tremendously. Cannot even tell you how many stories I have of how that's worked for other people, how it's worked with people through me. Like, forget the fact that I'm a coach and a recruiter, just me as a colleague. I've had so many people over the years say to me, hey, Shira, I noticed on LinkedIn that you're connected to, right? So-and-so, would you forward? I mean, people do that. And it has worked. I have actually done that. And the person on the other end, the employer is like, oh, Shira, thank you. And yeah, happy to consider them. And one time I remember very specifically, someone got a job because of it. In fact, he'd already had a first level interview, but he wanted me to see if I could just put in a good word. Turns out the person he was asking me to refer to was a client, a guy named Mike. Mike was my client, but this guy, Barry, who reached out to me, he had no idea that Mike was my client. Mike really, really was my client, like knew me, trusted me, and trusted my recommendation. And I forwarded Barry and he got the job, So it's just this LinkedIn is super powerful, absolutely powerful in terms of helping people to get noticed. So is that helpful, Elizabeth?
Very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anisha?
To follow up on a few of the things that you just mentioned about LinkedIn and trying to connect, which I've done. But how do you get through all the noise, all the other email communications that, in this case, you mentioned Anjana, would get? Is there something specific that you should say in the subject line that will get their attention? Because again, you're unknown, they don't know you, you don't know them. And in order to, make sure that they open
that
your
they see it, yeah, what I'd probably say in the subject line is something like request introduction to Rosemary so-and-so. Or introduction request to Rosemary so-and-so. Because then you're going straight. Yeah.
Okay. Then just another quick follow-up, if you don't mind. It's also related to LinkedIn. Do you recommend, since we are job searching, I used to have the premium LinkedIn, I don't anymore. Do you recommend getting that in
all the time? I have a very straight response for that. Okay. There is only, to me, there's only one reason why you would want, or any job seeker would want LinkedIn Premium, and that is if you do enough searching. Now, here's what I mean by searching. I don't mean just randomly pop in a name, or a company like here. I don't mean that. I mean, if you're doing like searching. So for example, there you go. So let's say I was searching again. I have a whole, I'll in a second, I'll pop in the chat. I have a 2-hour training that I did for a job seeker group that I'll pop in the chat here for all you to watch. But anyway, if you, I don't mean like, so here I remember I popped in, I said American Red Cross, and I was being very specific. What I'm talking about searching is if you're doing generic searching. So let's say, forget that you knew that there was a job at the American Red Cross, forget that. One of the reasons why job seekers should be using LinkedIn to do networking, beyond whether or not you know there's a specific job somewhere, is to network with colleagues, networking with people who do what you do, for whom, you know, meaning if they see a job that is not right for them, it could be right for you. Networking with people who are potential hiring managers, right? There's all these different searches that you can do. Again, I'll send you the video. But I say that because if you do a lot of that, so for example, let's say I'm a director of marketing level and I want to network with other directors of marketing, I would type in director of marketing, okay? And I would do this search. And by the way, this is the search that we recruiters do when we're trying to find you. I'm just reverse engineering it for you. So I would click on the people tab right here. Okay. And these 5 million people. Well, then I would filter it down. I would either look for connections, locations, not usually current company, but connections and locations. Or I could just use the all filters tab, which has that and a lot of other filters as well, including, industry, for example. If I'm looking for somebody in the nonprofit industry, I can type nonprofit. And by the way, nonprofit, LinkedIn recently changed its a taxonomy. And so for any of you who are in the nonprofit realm, I just noticed recently, I was doing a training, they don't write nonprofit, they write it with the dash. Yeah, which is interesting. So I just learned that about them. And I'd hit show results, and right, so here we go. So now it narrows down to 83,000, which is still a lot of people. And I would still have to use the all filters to keep looking. But the point is that here's a list for me to use. This is what I mean by a search. I just did a search. And as a recruiter, I do that all the time. In fact, so much so that I don't just pay for premium. I have something called Sales Navigator, which is a whole other portal, and it allows me to do extra filtering and all this stuff. Of course, you wouldn't need that. But for normal people, regular people like yourself, you can do a lot of the searching for free up to a point. So this is the long answer to your question, Nusha. If you do this kind of searching over and over and over and over, I don't know how much over and over means, but at some point, LinkedIn's going to pop up a box and it's going to say you've exceeded your commercial limit. You need to upgrade to premium. What is commercial limit? They think that you're either a salesperson or a recruiter, because those are the two professions, right, that actually use LinkedIn that extensively. And if you're a job seeker using it that way, eventually they will assume that you're one of us and they'll make you pay. Well, they should. They have a business model, right? They got to make a living. So yes, this is the freemium model. They should be charging us, right, if we're going to be using it that extensively. But for right now, search until you get that box and you're fine. So that's the only reason why I would recommend ever going premium for a job seeker. The reason why people sometimes think that they want to do premium is for this other reason, which I don't think is a good reason. And that is because when you do premium, you can see who's looked at you, who's looked at your profile. I see you shaking your head. I knew that. Everybody says that to me. And the fact, Anusha, is they are teasing you. I mean that. I mean, and not in a bad way, but they are. And this is the social media scratching thing. Ooh, you winked at me. Ooh, I winked at you. Who cares? Anusha, if somebody looked at if somebody looked at your profile and they're interested in talking to you, they will reach out.
It's like the dating profiles, right?
It's absolutely like the dating profile.
It's a game.
Matter. You should not have to pay $30 or $60 a month just for the privilege of seeing who winked at you. Like, really? There's no practical reason for that.
But you read my mind, exactly. Yeah, you read my mind.
You're normal. I hear this all the time. But it's the searching, that capability. If you're going to do a lot of it, that's absolutely worth it. And the other thing that is mildly worth it, is the fact that you get some in-mails. So for those of you who don't know, in-mail is LinkedIn's version of email, sort of. It's the portal, right? So for example, right now, I don't know Ashley, okay? And if I wanted to, like if I wanted to just connect with Ashley, I would hit the connect button and I would say, and I can add a note and it'll give me 300 characters, not words, 300 characters to send her a short little note. Fine. But let's say for whatever reason, I wanted to send Ashley a long note. Now, normally we wouldn't need to do that, but let's say I did. I would have to send her an in-mail. Okay. So in the in-mail, I would go here to the more button. And it says message Ashley. Now it's a little bit of an interesting nomenclature, okay? Because where it says message Ashley, you and I think of messaging as when a first level person messages another first level person, and we can do that all day long for free. When they say message Ashley, they're teasing you because they're making you think, oh, it's just a message. Well, it's not, it's an in-mail. And so if I hit message Ashley here, I think they're going to take me to my sales navigator, and I'm sorry about that because yeah, they are. Okay, so forget the fact that you're not going to see this page, LinkedIn Talent Solutions, but you would what you would see if you have the free account, it'll say, you can't email, you can't send her an email, you need to upgrade to premium. And if you do upgrade to premium, you only, depending on the premium package you get, you only get like 5 in-mails a month or 10 in-mails a month, not very much at all. Again, I don't think it's worth it because even then, not everybody checks their in-mail. So it's, even if you did send somebody an email, are they going to receive it? I don't know, right? But at the end of the day, I think just save your money until unless you do, the full searching. Okay. And you can also, if you really wanted to reach out to that person, not even just for a job, you just wanted to meet the person. Again, use your first level contact. Ask for an introduction. Hey, Frank, I was looking at Susie's profile on LinkedIn. I noticed that you're connected to her. Here's why I'm interested in meeting her. Send a regular email. Here's my LinkedIn profile, or here's my resume. Here's why I want to meet her for networking purposes. Would you broker an introduction? Nothing wrong with that. It's old fashioned, but it works. Make sense?
Let me just add a couple of things to what Shira said, which are connected to everything she said in a way. When she first started out, she talked about this job search, and she was doing a prayer meeting with someone, and they said, "Oh, I have somebody who you should meet who I think's qualified." Okay, again, that's an example of the power of your network, and obviously in Shira's role, it's probably really important to her. I mean, when she has a search and she can reach out to her network and she generates potential candidates, that's helping her be successful in her role. Now, that same thing applies to each and every one of you, depending on what your job is and what your function is and what your industry and your profession. But the more people that you have connected to what you do, you have a problem, you have an issue, you reach out to your network, and you will in almost all cases find answers, solutions, advice to whatever you're trying to accomplish. And obviously, as a job seeker, you know that your network is critical, because hopefully what you're looking for is information, introductions, opportunities that they see that you haven't seen. So just again,
never know. Network. You never know who you're going to meet. Many years ago, my aerobics teacher became my client.
Yeah.
Right. Like, just don't know.
And again, there's some pros and cons to LinkedIn. And I had a recent example where someone reached out to me, and a lot of salespeople reach out to me and I don't even respond. But when I looked on his profile, and this was a former CEO, he had 30 mutual connections to me. And some of these mutual connections went back 25, 30 years, people I worked with at Dunkin' Donuts in the previous century. And I said, I have to reach out to Mark. I just can't believe we have all of these connections. Well, so I reached out to Mark, and I'm talking to Mark, and I said, well, how well do you know Craig Stevens? He says, well, I don't really know Craig Stevens. He's just digitally connected to Craig Stevens. How about Court Williams? Well, I don't know him either. How about Elizabeth Humphrey? I don't know her either. Now, those 3 people that I just mentioned are all executive recruiters. And all three of them I know very, very well. So I can pick up the phone and I can call Craig Stevens and said, Craig, I've got a client that's going through a rough time, and trying to find a senior level position. Would you provide him or her an informational interview? And Craig would do that for me. So what I did for Mark is I sent an email to those three people and I attached Mark's resume and stuff. They all responded to me. Thanks, Vern. Thanks for the referral. One of them said, yeah, we saw him in an earlier search, but we didn't get to the interview stage. So just by connecting with me, now it didn't end up in, him being connected to one of them, but again, to Cher's point, you never know. Maybe they were doing a search right at that time where Mark's resume may have fit and he might have gotten an opportunity. So it's just, again, the power of networking and just thinking about how you can help people and how they can help you.
Huge. Judah?
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late, but actually it's relevant. I want to testify here on networking. So I just finished a small job. It's a postcard for a client. I do graphics and web design. And they heard from one of their people in their network who knows Elise Barnes, who then knows me. So no one in my network knows her. No one in her network knows me. Never met before. Suddenly, I mean, amazing connection, great client, absolutely awesome. And power of network. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
there you go.
Happens all
And
the
I-
time.
Sharon, Judah. Yeah.
And I just want to celebrate that here with you guys, if I might, yeah, I mean, I think what's happening here, and also just, I think it's just been this tide of networking and just in strong intention that this client came to me, and this really good job came to me, this really good work, and some other connections for some other potential employment. So I just want to share that with the group.
God bless you. That's
Great. Thanks for sharing, Judah.
And
Yeah.
Judah, are you only looking for gig work, for freelance work? Or are you actually looking for a full-time job
I've been looking for a full-time job.
as a graphic designer?
Well, and that's one of the things I want to talk about or bring up in this group at some point is transitioning more into, I kind of feel like I need to focus more on, and I've chosen web development as that focus. Graphic design is kind of slightly different. At the same time, I'm very comfortable and confident doing graphics and web design. So it seems like a good fit, at least initially, and branding. So I'm really, very good in that. Problem for me has been just being a little bit too broad and not getting to the level of mastery that I would like in any particular discipline. I hope that's not too much of an answer or
Yeah,
wrong
and
answer.
so actually it prompts me because every once in a while over the last, since we've started this group, every once in a while I'll actually go into networking and have you guys network with each other. I think this might be a good time to do that. So let's go ahead and just pause for a second and change the order of things. I'm going to have you guys go around the room. Well, I'll tell you the order of how you guys are showing up for me on my page, and just state, your name, and then what you're looking for. So that could be in one of two things, either what I call your lane and or your community, meaning your lane is your profession, your community is the industry, mission, or sector that you serve. Now, everybody's got a lane, either the lane that you have or the lane that you want, because if you're transitioning into a new profession. Not everybody has a community. You might be cross community. You might be able to work for nonprofits, for-profits, whatever. You might be, it doesn't really matter. Like Judah, you probably are a cross community person, I'm guessing. Like you don't just do one sector, right? You web design, you do graphics for anybody. So if you just have a lane, state your lane. But if you have a lane and a community, then state that. Okay. And what a good job lead for you is, if you're looking, if there's a specific companies or organizations you're trying to get into, how we can help you. So just take just a minute, who you are, what you're doing, what you're doing or want to do, if you have a community, and what a good job lead for you might be. So I'll tell you the order of how you appear on my screen. Elizabeth, then Ty, Rebecca, Chi, Anuja, Judah, Nathan, Scott. Okay, Elizabeth.
Okay, so I'm Elizabeth Stanford, and I am a literacy specialist, instructor, reading specialist for kindergarten through third grade. I think that's it.
Okay. Hi. And by the way, as you're listening to folks, if you have a lead for them, raise your hand, let them know, say, oh, I know somebody who's in that space, and and then do a quick email exchange in the chat. All right. So we want to make sure we connect you guys. Ty?
So, Elizabeth, are you looking for work? I
Oh,
didn't catch
yes.
whether you were.
I am.
You are?
I actually accepted a full-time position, which was too much because it expanded into 19 hours a day for 10 weeks. So I preferably would like to work part-time, but it has to be financially sustainable since I'm self-supporting. So that's kind of a long answer, convoluted, but thank you.
Great.
Hi.
Good morning. My name's Ty Smith. Was looking at the association where primarily have shifted gears into the government world, looking for an administrative type position. I did post on there that there is a job fair coming up in Montgomery County. I also see that there's one in Northern Virginia, looking, like I said, like administrative. I have, of course, have an interest in career development of people too.
Thanks, Ty. Rebecca?
Hi, I'm Rebecca Corey, and go by Becky. I worked in the nonprofit world for 17 years. And originally I started out in the accounting world, and had to make that transition because of relocation. So I've now come to discover that I love being in that accounting world. So I'm trying to transition into that. So I guess that's the lane, right, is the accounting field. But my network of people are all in an association world, right? So I am, and then here's the other little kicker is that I am looking for part-time work because I moved here to the DMV area to live near my daughter and help her out with both she and her husband work full-time and 2 little ones. So I help them out. And I'm really happy to do that. And so, but I do want to work. So I'm kind of looking in the world of accounting companies that do bookkeeping and accounting work for nonprofit or for-profit, so that, and I've applied to one position that looked really good, but it seems like that would be a good fit for me because I would be working for a lot of different types of accounting, not just one particular.
Yeah, Becky, what you're talking about is working for an outsourced accounting firm. And there are
Okay.
many of those. There's one that I know well. It's called Cordia Partners, Cordia. Cordia Partners. Mitch, what is his last name? Mitch Weintraub is the president. If you send me an email, I'm going to put my email here for everybody, actually. Hold on here. I'm happy to do an intro.
Great.
Although you could just, reach out to them, and really it's fine because I would imagine they're regularly hiring folks like you, but it's exactly what you're talking about, right? Where you can do the accounting work, but in a what you would call part-time, and they would sort of call a contract.
Right.
Like you a client for, I don't know, a couple days a week,
Yeah.
or something like that.
And I could work full-time sometimes, like I'm flexible that way, but I just can't take a full-time job.
They would be a good one too. And there's other ones. There's a company called Raffa, Raffa. Raffa. But they just changed. Sorry, they just got acquired by Markham, Marcum, Markham LLP, I think. They do outsourced accounting as well. And both Cordia and Markham do work with, as part of their portfolio, they work with nonprofits and associations. But once you get into that world, you can start figuring out the competitors and just start going around.
Yeah.
There's also a firm called Justin Bradley. Now they're not outsourced accounting, but they do staffing, meaning placement, and they have a contract arm as well, which is not really part-time, but it's contractual. So
Super.
okay,
Becky,
send me an email.
Becky, one other suggestion. Are you familiar with QuickBooks? Do you use QuickBooks?
I do. Yeah. QBO. Mhm.
Okay, because I just know in my world, there are a lot of independent consultants who help small businesses with QuickBooks. In fact, I just spent 5 or 6 hours with one of those people in terms of my business that I'm launching to get everything straightened out in terms of QuickBooks. And, and then again, I think most of those people can work flexible hours. They can do work at night or in the evenings, or, the
Right.
client says, here's my problem. And, so that's just another suggestion.
Super, thank you. Because I am finding, I do have the flexibility to work different times of the day because, right, I don't have any dependent children or anyone else to take care of. I can
Yeah.
work weekends,
Yeah.
but I just can't work 9 to 5,
Yeah.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah. Okay.
Super, thank you.
You're welcome. Chi, how can we help you? Chi, you're on mute.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand the lane and community. So the lane is what I do right now. So what I do is cash gig work or cash.
I apologize. Did you say
So
cash gig work?
cash or gift cards. So to like Target or Amazon. So I build furniture at IKEA and I'll clean a garage or I'll install cameras around people's homes. Anything for cash or gift cards, like at Walmart. And then for my community, it's other stay-at-home parents. Or I hang around IKEA and pass out a stupid flyer saying, I'll build your furniture for you.
So you do like handyman work kind of a thing.
Kind of wherever I can find a niche. Like I can't do house cleaning because it's just flooded, but I know my way around a garage. I know what bits are matched with what machine. It's not something that most people would know. And I know enough about IP for port forwarding to install a network. So usually it's the parents that are trying to catch their partners cheating. I'll install cameras that they can't report on. They can't like place it on credit cards. And of course, IKEA furniture, people buy it, but then after 3 months, it's still not installed.
Interesting.
Or put together.
Have you looked at any of the on-demand services like TaskRabbit?
I have. I've been mostly looking at like Gig City, Indeed. I've tried using recruiters, but the problem is, and I see some expression is that I don't have consistent hours.
Yeah.
I'm a stay-at-home parent,
Yeah.
right? And I need this flexibility. So I could be building halfway through a bookshelf and then my son needs me. And then I have to go.
Yeah. Got it.
Right. So, and then I also care for my folks, my parents.
Have you looked at what about Upwork and some of the other sites that,
Yeah,
Good.
Fiverr, all
Yeah,
that.
all of that.
Yeah, it's just very time consuming. I had my hand up earlier because I'm having problems managing my time.
Mm.
Well, we can get to it later after all this networking, but I am flooded with so much work with networking that are dead ends, right? And I know I have a problem building relationships. So
Yeah.
anyways, I think I've used up my time.
That's okay. That's all right. But
yeah, it's stay-at-home parent. I don't know what you call it, but it's hard to really identify myself. I just give them 3 things I normally do. Like I'll try to mow grass, anything for cash.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think for you, local networking, like neighborhood, like I think
Yeah,
what you're
next
doing
door.
is really,
But but there's just so many places to look now.
Yeah.
right.
It's not just like LinkedIn one and then you're done. It's like
pick one or two, but I would focus locally, like you said, like the next door app, just literally your neighbors, maybe flyers in people's, I don't know why you're looking them anymore, but local Starbucks. You're like, I think you're just a very locally oriented person in terms of what
Home
you're
Depot.
I am, but I did hear some mentioning about career transition. I don't want to continue doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be a Java developer, but now I got my green card and I'm done. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you guys transition to other careers. Do you guys have a service?
It's a big well, Becky's trying to do that right now. It's a big lift, right? Because employers are risk averse, right? And they want people who've sort of been there, done that. When I help people in my career coaching capacity, what I've done in the past is help people to take their resume, right? And so let's take, like, say, Becky. So you have some accounting experience in your background, right, Becky? Right. So, but you haven't done that recently. So what you do is whatever the thing is you're trying to go into, if you have any of that experience in your background, you start highlighting it in your resume, pulling it up. Like literally, like you make your resume focused on that thing so that when you send it to an employer, that's what they're focused on. I'll give you an example. Years ago, I had a client and he was an attorney and he didn't want to be an attorney anymore. And so we figured out that he wanted to be a writer. So how do you turn an attorney into a writer? So what we did was we went through his resume and found all of the writing experience he had, because attorneys do a lot of writing. And so we pulled it all out, rephrased, highlighted it, went to his LinkedIn, to the about section, created a whole about section that talked about why he likes to write, the kind of writing he likes to do, all these different things. And he ended up getting a job as a journalist for a legal trade publication. So he shifted the lane from attorney to writer, but kept his community, which is the legal community. And so the legal trade publication said, he gets the legal thing, but we're going to allow him to go into journalism. And I just found out recently, I worked with this guy years ago, but I know somebody who knows him. I just the other day asked, hey, how's this guy doing? And now he had left there and now he's an English instructor, right? So at least he's still in that world, but he was able to puddle jump from that into this. So the point is that, if you have any experience doing the thing that you want to do next, highlight it. And I'll leave with this, the concept that I have, I call it ing versus The ing is the skill, the is the profession. Writing versus writer, event planning, event planner. So he had writing as the ing, the skill set, and we turned him into a writer. Now, if you don't have any experience in the thing that you're going into, that of course, can be problematic, right? So you want to get some skill building, take some classes, certifications, whatever you want, volunteer, but your resume needs to showcase some version of that skill set so that the employer feels safer in hiring you, because they're taking a risk when they're hiring somebody who doesn't have experience. You got to show them something.
Yeah.
Right?
And what I've heard from you, it's a little bit different than Becky or the client that Cher was just talking about. I'm not sure what you want to do. Or I mean, is there, and that's really before
No,
you do
I
anything
don't.
else.
I don't. I go on here, and when I see HR and project management, I know not to go into those fields because I see
Okay.
so many, and they all tend to be of a certain age group. So
Yeah.
but then it's hard to know where all the openings are because I never run into them.
Well, first you need to know what you want to do before you can find the opening.
Before you go to the openings, think about what skills do you have. You've got to do some research. What kind of jobs, what kind of positions would be a good match for your skills, and is that what you want to do before you start? The hard part is, as Shira said, career transition is tough, because whatever you've done in the past, now you're trying to do something different, and you've got to convince people to actually give you a chance because your background and all your experience says, well, you don't have what we're looking for right now. So it's a tough position to get to that point.
I'm going to share something really fast, and I haven't shared this. I don't even know. It's been a very long time, and this can help everybody on this call, but especially people who are in career transition. I call this passiontivity, and it's a way. This is going to be especially helpful for you. It's a way to help you figure out your superpowers, but not just your superpowers. The superpowers that you really want to use. Let me explain what this is. This is the intersection of your skills and your career motivators. And so the way you would do is, you can take a picture of this, but I'm going to fill it out for you really fast. So the first box right here is high engagement. So these are skills that you have where you're highly skilled and highly motivated. And by the way, as I'm sharing this, even if you're not doing a career transition, this is really, really helpful for branding, for your resume and for your LinkedIn profile, because it can help you really sort of hone in on the superpowers. So high engagement are skills that you're great at and you love. This is where you give discretionary effort. It's a big smiley face emoji, right? You are, it's just 2 thumbs up. This is the work that you're great at. So Chief, in your case, you would look at your past experience, all of your experience, paid work, volunteer work, whatever, and say to yourself, what are the skills that I've acquired over the years that I'm great at and I love to do, which is contrasted with stopgap work. High skill, low motivation. This is work you're great at, but you tolerate. So in your case, probably Java, right? You probably really good at it, but you don't want to do it anymore. That goes in this box. You do, but make sure that you just see it there, right? So it's a contrast of what you don't want to do. You can, but you don't want to do it. As opposed to professional development, and I break that down into want to and need to. The want to is the get to, the need to is the should. In other words, the want to would be skills that you would love to be better at, so much so that one day you'd want it to go into the high engagement box. Like, yeah, maybe you want to get a certification in it. You're really excited about it. But the need to is the should, meaning skills that you are, you feel like, well, I probably should be better at it. It's not really my part of my personality, but all right, fine. Like a person who's a communicator, like a marketing person, oftentimes they're not very good with numbers. So they might say, well, I should be better managing budgets. It's not something I want to do, but fine. I might have to build my skill a little bit. Okay. So that's different than the want to and need to. And then disengagement are things that drain you. Absolutely drain you. You don't want to do this. You don't want it on your resume. You don't want it in your job. You just opposite. It's opposite of high engagement. It's a really, really good. Now, this is what you want to, anybody feel free to take a picture of this. Okay. This is really what you want to look at. What's the opposite? What is high engagement? What is disengagement? And really look at that. Now, how do you analyze it, right? You can either, work with somebody like me, right? Because in a formal basis, but if you can't afford that, talk to a friend, talk to a colleague. I usually recommend not talk to like your best friend or your spouse or something, because they kind of have a dog in the hunt and they might not give you, like, they're very well meaning, but they may not be as objective. I would talk to somebody who's objective. So maybe it's a friend, a colleague, somebody who just is saying, okay, objectively, I'm looking at what you wrote here. Here's what I'm hearing. And when you fill this out, fill it out with hard skills, not soft skills, meaning hard skills are things that you do, not how you do them. So a hard skill is what you do, a soft skill is how you do it. Fill it out with your hard skills. Java, customer service, research, writing, financial analysis, whatever you do, project management, that's the way to kind of contextualize the things that you really want to focus in on. And then once you fill out your high engagement box, do the ING and the test. Is there a skill that you've developed over the years that's an ING, like writing, where you love that thing so much, you want to be a writer? You've done event planning, you want to be an event planner, that kind of thing. So Becky has done accounting. Now she wants to be an accountant. Get it? So look at that box and see what are the skills, the ING skills that I've loved, then now maybe I want to repurpose into her. Okay, hopefully that helps. Okay, great. Anuja, and then Judah. We can't hear you, Anuja.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is that better?
Uh-huh.
Sorry. Hi, good morning. My name is Anuja Miner. My lane is membership, strategic planning / business development. And my network is, I've done nonprofit for most of my career. I did profit for like a short time, and I realized that I like the nonprofit sector, which is mostly trade associations. And just continuing to look for, and I'm now kind of focusing on my dream job or dream career, which is I'd love to work in a sports for a sports organization. I used to work in sales for a couple of NBA teams, and now that I'm kind of looking at the tail end of my career, that's kind of what I'd like to do. If some just starting networking in that sector, but my first love is trade associations, so nonprofits. But if I'm able to find an opportunity in sports field, whether it's obviously not working in the arena itself, but front office type of positions,
or a sports association, right?
Or sports association, yes. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Judah, and then Nathan.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, Anija. Hi, everybody. My name is Judah Lynn. I'm in Gaithersburg, Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. I am a graphics and web designer, background in multimedia, and overall branding expert, I could say. Uh, I wear lots of hats, and I enjoy what I do. I've been more focused, feel like I've kind of maybe spread myself a little broad. I'm wondering maybe I haven't. Maybe, you know what, my skill set is just right. At any rate, I've been looking at going more into web development, particularly, more programming and web applications and things like that. But I am a developer with a designer's eye and a branding perspective. I have worked.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah, I worked for myself for quite a while. I've worked for some agencies. Some of the clients I've had that I have enjoyed working for an associations. I interviewed for a company called NeighborWorks, and someone may have heard of that. Got a second interview, didn't get the job, but that looked real interesting. I Even though I do branding, I don't necessarily want to like kick out websites for brands, and that's a broad term, but just uh, looking for a company with a mission of sorts, education, human-centered tech, helping the environment, things like that. Working in a probably smaller to probably a mid-sized organization, a place where I can grow as a designer, and that I can also help to mentor others.
So one of the things, Judy, you want to consider is the fact that in your kind of specialty profession, the organization has to be large enough to hire somebody full-time to do that. A small organization is always going to outsource that kind of work. It really has to be a substantive, they have to have like a creative department, right? Or they're going to have a web designer or graphics, right? That's why a lot of times folks like you will work for marketing agencies or work for comms and creative agencies, because most organizations don't have the need, frankly, for somebody that, that specialized. Have you been finding that?
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's spot on. That's exactly right. And I am looking for, that's why I do mention a mid-sized company, something with place with resources that, needs people to do lots of things.
Right.
A job lead, I'll just add that because I wrote that down. I think because a lot of these meetings, there's a lot of, as Chi mentioned, a lot of, HR or business stuff, and a lot of people don't really get what I do necessarily. So in looking for somebody in the creative, in the marketing department, maybe another designer or developer, at a company. Some companies that seem interesting to me are also slightly different than a regular company, but Booz Allen, Leidos, CACI, these larger consulting companies are also interesting to me.
So Judah, I am now connected with somebody who's a senior executive at Booz. If you send me an email, grab my email. I'm happy to introduce you to him. He doesn't do anything related to creative, but he's been there forever and he's great reputation there. So I'm happy to connect you.
Awesome. And just real quick, in this regard, taking the strategy of, when I'm looking at a lead, I think, okay, who in my network knows somebody there? I had never thought of that before. And now I'm like, oh, okay. I saw somebody who was related to you, and how can I get to somebody there?
Absolutely.
So
leverage your network.
Perspective is so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Ty, because Nathan's actually next. Did you have a comment for Judah?
I just had a quick comment. The International Association of Business Communicators and Public Relations Society of America may have some connections there, since they're in the communications field, and maybe Cher can speak to that a little bit too.
True. It's true. Those are the folks who are either, PR and comms professionals, or the agencies and the consultants that work there. And so those are places, especially the DC chapter of PRSA, will be a good place.
I'll reach out to you today to connect on LinkedIn.
Yeah. But again, the DC chapter of PRSA, the Public Relations Society of America, would be a good place for you to network, because a lot of consultants come there and they will often outsource or know of people who are in your space.
Awesome. Thank you.
As well as the DC chapter of the American Marketing Association. Okay. Nathan, and then Scott.
Yeah. So good morning, everyone. My name is Nathan Cooper. I've been in high tech for at least 30 years now, maybe slightly more. I left Cisco Systems about 2 years ago, so most of my background or my community, I guess you could say, is telecommunications or data center networking related. So my last role, I was a program manager, portfolio manager, managing a team of project and program managers. And that's really where I think my next step needs to take me, is in that type of capacity. Again, where I'm running larger teams and delivering technical projects and programs. And most of my clients were Fortune 100, Fortune 500, so I'm used to working at that scale. So
Do you
be
do any,
vendors.
do you do any government?
Good.
Ethan? Have you ever done any government agencies?
Well, yes and no. So my last job, I was actually in public sector supporting SLED space, state local governments, K through 12 higher ed. That was my patch.
Okay. I mentioned that because the very same person I was going to refer to, Judah, the guy at Booz, he actually runs massive programs, technical
Really?
programs. Yeah, massive.
I would love
Agents on the government
contact
side.
and flexible. Right.
Yes,
Well,
so
that's fine.
if
That's
you,
fine.
if you grab my email, send me a note.
We'll do. Thank you.
So the guy's name is Paul, by the way. If you want to just prompt me,
All right.
Judah, his name is Paul.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and then Scott. Scott, are you still with us? Okay, I know he put his information in the chat.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else want to have? I know we're kind of wrapping up in time. Any other job search questions that we can answer for you?
Any advice for attending career fairs? I'm attending 3 next week in the DC area, and just general advice.
I mean, are live or virtual?
Live.
Live. Yeah, I'm actually not a career fair expert, and interestingly enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, I mean, you want to make sure that when you are engaging with whatever the employer is, that you see if you could get the names of the employers in advance, do any research
Right.
that you can, find out the openings that they have that are relevant, target those people. Yes, you
Right.
can have your resume in physical copy. Obviously, they're going to want it electronically, but you could just be there just in case, they just want to do a quick scan, and make sure that you follow up. Just don't rely on them to follow up with you. You send them a link to say, may I send you a LinkedIn invitation? What's the next steps? What's the best, prompt them to see
Right.
how you can,
Okay.
continue to follow up and network with the people that are there. It's not just about the employers that are there. It's about your colleagues. Because there are any just like this group, right? Like we just did a little round robin, when so-and-so has a lead for so-and-so, those career fairs are great for that because everybody's looking for a job, which means everybody's motivated to help everybody else to land. So get that cup of coffee and talk to the person who's stirring their sugar. I mean, like just anybody you can think of that can help you. You never know who those people.
And the other
Right.
point, Nathan, to, think about and really be prepared, well, Nathan, tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay. You can say some of what you just said in terms of, you work for Cisco Systems, you ran large project teams. One of the accomplishments I'm most proud of is when we did XYZ and it ended up in these types of results. Make sure you get in that. Tell me a little bit about yourself, some type of accomplishment that kind of
Measurable.
validates your skills and expertise.
Okay.
Have your
Great.
elevator.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially in the sectors too, right? Like just so you mentioned that you've done Fortune, you've also done some agencies, some government agencies.
Yeah. I've worked with everyone. I mean, literally, I've worked in just about every industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, great. And then Ty? Okay.
Like you might be frozen. Ty, are you frozen? Are you?
No,
No, there we go. Yeah, I was
There.
frozen a little bit. In-person interviews are seem a little more common. I had one this week. Just for the benefit of other people, I mean, is there any other tips that you have for people? It went well, but more and more common. It's not, I felt it wasn't as comfortable. It's more pressure in person.
You felt you felt more pressure in person?
Yes.
Okay. So here are a few, yeah, I haven't given in-person tips in a long time. So here's the thing with the in-person. First of all, your interview starts before you walk into the building. What do I mean by that? You never know who's looking outside their office window at you. Before you walk into the building, make sure you look as presentable and have everything ready to go. You're not changing your shoes, you're not fixing yourself up before you come into the building, a block away. Okay. You got to fix yourself up, do it in the local Starbucks. Make sure that you are the professional that you need to be before you walk in the building. Talk to people in the elevator, say hello, greet people, most people don't have a receptionist anymore, but greet whomever you meet when you're coming in. I mean, your social skills are very important when you are in the interview. They are watching every single move you make, just like you're watching them too, right? Everybody's on, kind of has to be on their best behavior. When you're walking down, when you greeted somebody or walking down the hall to their office, make small talk, talk about the pictures on the wall, talk about their LinkedIn profile, talk about anything. So just, you want to show your sociability when you are connecting with them. Those initial impressions really matter. It's truly a first impression kind of a thing, because if the impression isn't that great, you're going to have to spend the rest of that time making up for that bad impression. Okay. So your ability to have, to be emotionally intelligent, to be socially on cue, all that matters. How you dress. I know everybody's in, casual these days. It's an in-person interview. Put on your suit, right? Like, I know it's like old fashioned tips, but it's true. You just got to go back to basics and do the proper thing. And then even when you're sitting down, you can have a portfolio, like a little leather bound thing. If you want to have your resume in there, if you have some notes, type out your notes. You want to print out the job description and have some keywords or key concepts highlighted, just so that when it comes time for you to ask questions, you can seamlessly open up your portfolio, know where all of your notes are. You're not shuffling through papers and, oh, let me just take it. Everything's organized and you're prepared and everything's proper. Type out your questions in 14-point font. I mean, these are little tiny suggestions, right? But all those things matter when it comes to having a very seamless sort of interaction with them. But make sure that you have really good questions as well. And that you're asking people, asking them about themselves. And again, you're trying to build rapport, but you're also trying, of course, to show your competencies all at the same time. So those are just a couple little, in-person tips. Oh, and ask if you can meet other people in the office. Maybe shake some hands and build rapport with them so that people say, oh, I like this guy, right? And then you can also see the office and see what the culture is like. It's not just about them vetting you, you're vetting them too, right? Is this the kind of place that you want to work? So those are a few of just my input. I didn't really address the content of the interview, but in terms of the face-to-face, those are a couple of things. Vern, do you have any tips?
I would say also, at the end of the interview, if the interview went well, make sure that closing statement by you is asking for the job. Really enjoyed the interview, really think this is a great opportunity based on what we talked about. Love to, I look forward to, continuing discuss, having
Show your enthusiasm.
look forward to continuing our discussions regarding, regarding this job. Basically, I'm saying I'm a good fit for this job. I've really enjoyed the interview, and and then everything in between, the beginning and the end. I mean, we've covered a lot in terms of this. I think you know most of that. Have your your source stories, your par stories, however you've written your stories. Have those examples ready and have them down pat. Remember to ask questions of the interviewer or interviewers. Make it a conversation. Can you share anything more, Ty, about why you felt you were more nervous in person than on a Zoom?
I think part of it was it was an interview, and part of it was it's the first time I've given a PowerPoint presentation
You
there.
did.
That
You
felt
told
so
us
that was
about
part of
that.
the interview process. So
How did
that
it
was part of
go?
the interview. It went well, except for the PowerPoint didn't go as smoothly as what I want, because I hadn't used PowerPoint in front of a group in a long time, and I'd practiced before, but their mouse seemed to be very touchy. So it
Mm,
kind of
yeah.
skipped
Yeah.
it to go around. And interesting, they timed the PowerPoint, got to the end of the time when I said, "Do you want me to continue?" And they said, "Just go right ahead." And I did. Thank you for the suggestion of taking these along the color copies, because I think that went over real well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Elizabeth and then Anusha.
This may be a dumb question, but as a teacher, one of the things I love is that I get to dress down a sweater versus a suit jacket, if you will. For the interview, would you still suggest I wear a suit?
It's a great point. I sort of. I would as just the most conservative, that's the most conservative approach, right? Like no one's going to ding you for wearing a suit. If you really, really didn't want to, you could do a dress. But whatever you do a whole level up from what you would be doing in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because interviews are not about what you would be wearing day to day. Interviews are your best impression of yourself. It's the way you would need to look when you have to really, really be on. So think of it this way, whatever organization you're with, let's just say that organization had not a gala, I don't mean black tie, but like they had a business conference or something like that. And you had to meet the chancellor, you had to, I don't know, you had to meet, what would you look like then? Do you know how to put yourself together? That's kind of, right? So I'll always go a whole level up from what you would be doing day to day. No one in an interview, no one's asking for, show us what you would look like every day. It's like, can you actually take it to the next level? So suit honestly is going to be your best bet, Elizabeth, but if you didn't really want to do that, maybe a dress.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's better to be overdressed than
than
underdressed, because if you're underdressed, there's no way you can lift it up, right? You're there.
By the way, I have this funny little story. Many years ago, I worked for an agency for a long time, and my boss gave this funny story. And this is when she was first recruiting, and she was prepping a candidate for an interview. And we at the time, we used to have candidates actually come into our office for the prep right before they went to the interview. So they'd come in like, I don't know, an hour before, we'd do the prep, and then they would literally go from our office to the interview. So my boss said to this it was a young woman, a candidate, and said, okay, so when you're preparing for your interview, you want to go to your, put on your best dress, right? Like your best outfit. Now, of course, my boss is thinking a suit. The girl walks in her prom dress.
Oh,
that was her best.
oh.
Right. So just if you want to take it to the extreme. So yes, clearly we're not talking prom dresses here, right? Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, just thought I'd make a laugh for the day. All right, Anusha.
Just a point about dressing up is make sure, because I've interviewed quite a bit since 2020, that whatever you wear underneath, make sure it's not sweatpants. And my fear is like, oh my gosh, the fire alarm's going to go off, or oh my gosh, I have to go to the door. So make sure you wear either a skirt or
for your virtual.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's very important
exactly. That's a really good point. Top to bottom.
Yeah.
You're in the suit, do the whole
that
thing.
you're not in your pajama pants and a jacket. Yeah. That wasn't my point wasn't that, but just wanted to make that clear, because we are doing so many virtual interviews now. But my point was actually, we all of us have gone through interview prep, doing the interview, and whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, however many. I think one time I did, like, I had 10 different interviews with 10 different people. My question really is after the interview, you send the thank you notes, you do all the things that are required of, or I shouldn't say required, but that you should follow up with. My question is specifically about being ghosted, which I've had that happen to me a number of times, whether it's from an potential employer, I should say, or even a recruiter. How do you get around that? Because I know that's a thing, and it's very deflating, because you've gone through the process, you think you did a great job, but then a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, or even 4 weeks later, after one or two emails, you get ghosted. And, to get back on to get back on track again, to start the whole process with another employer. I guess my question, how do you continue to stay motivated when employers ghost you, or potential employers
Okay,
ghost?
so it's all about your mindset. Okay, so there's two parts of your mindset. Number one, this is going to sound flip, but it's not. Elizabeth, sorry, before Venusia, I don't want to forget to do this. Elizabeth asked for my video. So let me just do that really fast. Sorry. And then I will answer your question, because I absolutely have something to say. This video link, by the way, is for all of my videos. Okay. And then okay. This is the video link, the link for all the videos, my job search videos, one of which is called Interviews That Land. Oh, no, sorry. What was one of them is called Using LinkedIn Like a Pro. So that's the LinkedIn video, but of course you're welcome to all of them. Okay, so thank you, Elizabeth, for prompting me to share that. Okay, and there's just two things. Okay, mindset. Number one, it's not personal. It's not personal. It feels personal, but it's not. Because on their side, it's a business decision. It's not, even if they love you, per se. I mean, they love you, right? But they think that you're a great fit, your skills, your background, this and that, right? For their business needs. Have you ever, Anuja, you've hired people in the past, right? Was it personal? No, per se. I mean, it's not, I mean, you're human to human. I mean, it's personal in that regard. But if you rejected somebody, it wasn't a commentary on them as a person. It was about they weren't the right business fit for you, right?
But at least I've let them know, or I've said,
I get it. No, by the way, I'm not condoning the behavior.
No, I understand. Yeah.
At all. All right, I'm not condoning the behavior. But in terms of your mindset, right? They're busy. They don't have a good recruiting process. Whatever. Okay. So that's number one. It's not personal. Just they're going through the motions. But yes, they should get back to you. But if they don't take it personally. Number two, the staying motivated thing. Your job search is like being a farmer. Okay. You got to plant a lot of seeds, because some of those seeds are going to be eaten by the birds, taken by the wind, taken by the rain, a lot of the seeds. No farmer ever expects that every seed is going to pop. You plant as many seeds as you possibly can. Some of them will flourish. And that's all you can do. So if this one didn't write you back and you've done your part, hey, you followed up a week later, blah, blah, blah. If they want you, you know what it is, they will find you. They will send you a carrier pigeon. Like, they will track you down if you're the candidate they want. And if you haven't heard, you haven't heard. They're busy, they're on vacation, they don't have a good recruiting process, whatever. Move on, plant another seed. More seeds, more seeds, more seeds. You never know. And I will tell you, these days, I am seeing more and more people, depending on your profession, get lots of popping at the same time. You might end up having a few offers to juggle, which is a good problem to have, but it is something, because then all of a sudden you have lots of seeds that are, the sprouts are happening. And how do you harvest it all at the same time, right? So that's a different issue. You've got to plant a lot of seeds. Don't ever, focus on the eggs in that basket, I guess is the point. Because if you do that, then you're going to be overly emotionally attached to that job. It's either meant to be, either the Lord means it for you or not. Go on to the next thing. And if it comes back to you a month later because they were on vacation for 2 weeks and nobody told you, and it's the right timing for you and it's the right job, great. And if not, you don't hear back from them. I wish they would have responded, but you know what? There are other opportunities. So keep planting seeds.
Yeah, as a job seeker, what you're looking for is closure, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you spent all of this time and effort, you researched the company, you got the interview, you went to the interview, maybe several interviews, and you like the job, you like the company, you're getting excited, and then it goes, like you say, you get ghosted, and it's just a deflating emotional response. And I want some closure. Okay, if you selected someone else who you really felt was better qualified, you can accept that. It's just difficult to accept being ghosted, right? and you're looking for the closure. And as Shira said, it's just for numerous reasons, it typically doesn't happen. And again, mindset, you just need to keep going. You just need to say, okay, that's an opportunity that I put some effort into. It didn't pan out. The next opportunity, you might put some effort in and it won't pan out. The next opportunity, you put some effort in and it pans out. And that's
Right.
just the ebb and
Way
flow
good.
of job search. It's the most difficult, challenging project that almost all of us face as human beings, because the rules are all different. You can't tell me, in other words, your goal in the job search is to land a job, right? And right now, today, you can't tell me whether you're 1 day away from landing a job
Right.
or it's 3 months from landing a
We
job.
don't know.
And that's just another unsettling point, because any project you've ever managed before, you kind of knew where you were at. You know what the goal of the project was, and you know where you were at, and you know when you finished it, you celebrated. And so it's just an emotionally challenging, it's an emotional roller coaster as you're going through the job search. And
Yet it's about trust.
yeah.
Trust
Trust
God
the
knows
process,
the
trust
job.
networking. Yeah.
Trust the process, but trust that the Lord knows where He has for you. He has a great place for you, a place that you're going to be able to serve, you're going to be able to contribute, right? You don't know what that is. But this is as much of a trust and a faith journey as it is anything else in your life. And that's why we go through things like this, right? Because faith is the substance of things hoped for, the things not yet seen. Like, you haven't seen it. That's why we need faith. If you could see it, you wouldn't need faith, right? So be encouraged, right? Just keep on, you just put your nose to the grindstone. You just keep on doing your job, and hopefully they respond. Now, your question around how many times should you reach out? Not that there's an exact rule of thumb, but just think of it relationally, right? So let's say, so at the end of an interview, either they say to you, hey, we'll expect to get back to you in 2 weeks, or they don't. And you ask, when should I expect to hear back from you? And they say 2 weeks. Tack on an additional week, because it takes longer than whatever they think, because there's always stuff going on behind the scenes. So now it's 3 weeks. Do a touch base. Hey, just checking in. Da, da, da. They don't respond to you, I'd wait 2 more weeks. Do another touch base, and then I'd leave it alone. By the way, do understand that a lot of employers, not employers, spam filters are very, very tough these days. I know myself, my emails are constantly going into people's spams all over the place. Okay. That actually can, these days, that actually can be part of the ghosting issue. Truly, they literally may not have seen it. It literally might be in their spam folder. People don't think about that, but I personally have so much experience with it. Even with professional emails, literally it's going to spam. So that's part of it. So what you could do is you could actually also follow up with a LinkedIn note. You find them on LinkedIn, send them a connection invitation, say, hey, it's great meeting you, so-and-so, want to stay in touch. Not sure if you've gotten my couple of emails recently, might have gone in your spam, just wanted to reach out here again on LinkedIn. So that's another option. But after that, I just let it go, because again, if you're the right candidate, they know how to find you, right? They will call you, they will track you down, because that's, at the end of the day, it's not about your following up with them. It's about knowing that if they want you, they will find you. Sorry to you, that old expression, don't call us, we'll call you. I know no one likes that expression, but that's the idea of it. If they want you, they'll find you. And in the meantime, you just keep on planting seeds. Ty, and then we do need to wrap up. I know we're way over time. Ty, last question.
Good or bad point is, I usually ask, who's the point of contact? In the last job I interviewed, they basically said, well, the HR person, will be getting back to you. Or ask, who should I send a thank you note to, because I didn't have the email addresses. Everybody, the woman actually saw the email addresses that I could send thank you notes to the people.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you asking a question about thank you notes?
Well, yeah. Well, I was asking that to ask, can I have your email address so I can send thank you notes? This was a panel. I didn't have them all sent me so I sent thank you notes, but I also was concerned about the process. So I asked about that. What's the next steps? And they said, well, HR will be, vetting people, make recommendation, and HR will be vetting people. And who do I get back to? I guess the HR person.
Absolutely. HR is going to be usually your point of contact. And it is always a good idea, like you did to ask for email addresses for panelists always send a thank you note. You'd be surprised at how many people don't, and employers will notice that. And either they're thinking they didn't send a thank you note because they're thinking about you as the candidate. Oh, the person wasn't being proper. But sometimes they think you don't send a thank you note because you're not interested. Right? So you really want to make sure you send that thank you note and get those email addresses. All right.
Yeah,
So
I never weigh over, but this is a topic that's near and dear, and I'll just weigh in really quick and just say, Anuja, I've been ghosted, and it was really painful. it was a real emotional roller coaster for me. And I think, hearing this conversation and just it's a real growth process. What I'm left with is don't burn any bridges. Realize that probably the HR person, in my mind, maybe they're really uncomfortable of rejecting somebody, and maybe they're just not a really great HR person, or they're just people who are maybe, whatever. And so for me, it's like, just be be the adult in the room. Don't burn any bridges, because you never know. And then just, hug yourself. Anyway, thanks
All
for
right.
thanks,
sharing.
Jimmy. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to close up. And for those of you who want to stay on the prayer call with me, you are certainly welcome to do that.